See?
It was one thing.
Let me ask you something. Within this subject you are talking about, we're talking here with Pastor Charlemagne, just so we can remember. Pastor Carlos Magno, who was one of the pioneers, leaders of the Universal Institution in the decade, at the beginning of the Universal, was the first to make a public denunciation directly against Macedo's hypocrisies. He's talking a little about the Odyssey episode, and in that meeting you meet Macedo after the football game, in which he says whoever wants to give, let him give, whoever doesn't want to get screwed, give or go down. He says that phrase very famous for Macedo. Now, another thing that called my attention also in the interviews that you already gave, other opportunities that you came to talk about, talking about the meeting that Macedo held with the leaders, something that you said, at least less is written there in the newspapers, etc. and such on Observatorio TV and others that were held there. You say that Macedo in meetings, only for leading pastors, bishops, he used, if I'm wrong, if I correct myself please, he used pornography, as examples in his meetings. How did that happen?
That was it? Yeah, you see, today I can say he's a sex maniac.
Why?
Every 2 months, the leaders of the states would meet at the hotel or in Rio de Sao Paulo. But few had the intimacy to sit at the table with him. There was that group. Me, Goncalves, Paulo Roberto, Rodriguez and him. And the others were all scattered. This little group. And he loved bringing up the subject of sex, you know?
It really is, right?
And like the shepherds, everything sucked up. As we say in today's language, it took a pile. He would take a stack and start telling about its particularities. How did the woman like it? How did you not like it? That it. And I was in a state of shock. Then Goncalo said, "Tell me, Carlos, you don't have anything to tell." Then he said, "Carlos is Mother Teresa of Calcutta."
That's right, huh? They called me Mother Teresa of Calcutta. The saint, right? The saint.
Yeah, the saint. I would go to the button, talk to him.
Look, suddenly
Look at the subjects below.
It was like that. It's not possible. Then it's...
I found this very wrong.
Then, at the time I was in Sao Paulo, with the Bishop of Brazil, he scheduled a meeting with the leadership of Brazil and some other pastors who were not leaders, but from Sao Paulo, from large churches.
And we went to a farm hotel. There he spent the first night.
On the second night he reserved the space in the auditorium where the hotel showed movies, right? Then at a certain time, first he spoke about the churches, that it is important to grow, as always, the subject is always this, grow, grow, grow. In other words, collect, collect, collect.
Yeah.
Then I said, look, many wives have complained to me that their husbands are working a lot and when they get home they just want a bed, sleep and they don't give them anything else. They're hurting the marriage and stuff. So I'm going to help out today. Now pay attention, you're all mature adults. If someone says I deny it, it'll sound like a liar. We are for your own good, okay? Then there's a surprise. He already had the light turned off in the room. Ronaldo Dietem, who was on the projector, turned on the projector and, to everyone's surprise, it was a pornographic film.
But pornographic film for the bishops, who was watching this film?
All the leaders of Brazil and another 30 pastors from Sao Paulo. Now the popular leadership itself, there was me, Goncalves, Rodriguez, Renato Maduro, Paulo Guimarães, apart from others from the States and about 30 from Sao Paulo. But of the worst kind.
Oh my God.
Of the worst quality. About 10 minutes passed. Some 10 minutes he turned it off to give a quarter. That will work. Check it out.
I mean, he promoted the pornographic film to the bishops, pastors, as a way of encouraging them to become more sexually active. Would that be it?
Overcome tiredness. The Viagra a la Macedo.
How absurd, Pastor Carlos, how absurd, how absurd. I mean, if it was told by someone else, or maybe if we were saying something similar, nobody would believe it.
Parece uma coisa que...
And when the meeting ended, we went home. He was still at my house in Sao Paulo and the same thing happened. We sat in the kitchen. He ordered a coffee. I served the coffee with it eaten away at me inside. Right there I said, "Man, I'm going to talk to you about something here. I'm thinking this is not bad,
but I think it will be for your own good."
He says.
I told him so. We saw you as if you were Jesus. And we are the disciples. So I ask you,
Do you think that Jesus
would you ever do what you did yesterday? Then they harvest for me like this.
He knows?
They put it there, not militant.
I say.
Because what came to mind was this. Would Jesus do this?
They.
Wow. That's right, you're right. I think I passed the point.
I say, sure.
And to my surprise, I recognized it, right?
And.
Because he had already given orders for it to be seen in all states.
Yeah, because practically from the other videos we recorded here, prior to the practice of deceit and lying both in the matter of miracles and in the question of collection, the way the collection was done, the leader passed it on to the others that he passed on to the others, and certainly in a little while I was going to have a church pastor giving it to the workers, a couple of workers to see, because in a little while there was going to be this exactly, that is what is understood, and it ended up that he showed to be repentant there, but later I realized that no.
The order continued to pass in the states.
That's right, huh?
And it was made in the states.
No. Man.
It just wasn't done where I was as lead pastor, because I didn't have that courage. I didn't have the courage to do a deal like that. No way, no way.
Even before being a pastor.
Let me quote, going into an issue here, changing the focus of the pornography issue that Edmar early on showed to the regional bishops. I wanted to talk a little about what happened 2 years later, because we were talking at the beginning of the video about episode of the Dow deaths. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, if I correct myself, 2 years after that meeting took place in Bahia, that regrettable episode that was recorded, thank God it was made public 2 years later, in 1992, Macedo, he was arrested, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm not mistaken, it was in 1990. Then in 1995 you published it on TV Globo in December 1995. If I'm wrong, just correct me. That even the reporter Francisco said that this video was from 5 years ago, so it was from 90, and in 92 Macedo was arrested. Was that right, Pastor?
Look, I don't know exactly the date. I'm really bad at remembering dates. I even surprised myself.
I'm going here for a light of reasoning because the report was linked, at least that's what it shows, in December 95. The reporter said that the video was from 5 years ago, so it was from the 90s. But Macedo was arrested in 1992.
Yeah, and when he was arrested I had already left.
You had already left. Oh there. I was going to ask you exactly that. I was going to ask you. The first question would be if you were still at Universal when he was arrested, or if you had gone to visit him. For example, if you were there, I don't know if. I do not know why. That would be the question, right? If you were at Universal, if I had gone to visit him in prison, which was 2 years after that there. No, when Marcelo was arrested, you weren't there anymore?
No, it wasn't anymore.
It's true, yes, it's true.
And the very interesting thing happened.
Yes.
I went to Sao Paulo. Let me remember here now so my memory doesn't fail me. I went to Sao Paulo. Oh, I already remembered. I went to Sao Paulo to see if I could get a passport, a visa, for a trip to the United States and Israel. Israel and the United States.
Yes.
Which I was going to buy. Shopping for the store.
Ha.
And there was one person. Because in Recife once, I was denied a visa. The consulate denied it, you know.
Then I went to try Rio and Sao Paulo. I couldn't.
And it was during this period that he was imprisoned.
Then this lawyer who was trying to resolve this issue of mine, he had also been Universal's lawyer. Then he asked if I held a grudge. I said no, hurt not at all. He said, why don't you pay him a visit there, since he's in jail? He wanted to test me, you know?
Yes.
I said I would, no problem. Then he said, on the other television, he said like this, because we are 50 meters from the police station.
I say, really, man?
He said, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to go there and talk to him? I say, no, it's a lot of work, that the guys don't even know who I am. He said no, but I can do it, staying there with the chief, we can do it.
I said that for me, I don't have any problem.
There he took me. When I got there, the first person at the front was his wife, Esther. Then he greeted me, all right and all. I came to visit Edir, because the television said if I wanted to come. Actually, the guy wanted to test me, because he wasn't from church. Like, he talks about mercy, forgiveness. In practice, he doesn't practice with anything. There I went. There we entered. Then I thought I was going to find him inside a cell with gadias, with everything. No, he was. There was a room reserved for him with air conditioning, a computer, a bed.
So I went in, greeted him, all right?
Then he said, okay, how are things going?
All right, all quiet.
Then he said, Malandro, this is going to help even your church. It's going to blow up in the Northeast.
How is it, Lycia?
This is going to burst. Bursting is growing, right? It will give growth even to Laodico.
The guy's in jail and he's thinking about kicking ass and raising more money on top of. Take advantage of prison, right?
Just for us to clarify here, so, what was? What we already, I had already mentioned here, you are giving more basis for this, that. And, this Macedo prison, the photo they took of him sitting there, poor thing, behind the bottles.
That was all set up there. Was that all set up?
All armed. You mean it wasn't like that at all?
No, it was nothing like that. That was just to publicize it in the media. He must have paid, right?
It must not have been free or cheap to bring emotion, right?
If I say so, right?
And to be a Mars, right?
Dad.
No, he was in a very comfortable room, computer, everything good, fridge, nothing was missing.